Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Crypto, Coffee and LoFi. Just a quick episode today rehashing what I went over in the previous episode. So if you haven't seen that, go over to my channel and check it out. So I was looking for, I'll just quickly go over it. I was looking for lower time frame, long positions as long as this low didn't break. And if this low did break, I was going to look for a retest to get short. And that's exactly what we saw this morning right before the daily close. So if you watched the previous episode, you'll know that I am bullish on the higher time frames. However, we are seeing some lower time frame distribution. I think that this distribution is just going to lead to a retest of previous levels of accumulation where we'll then see reaccumulation for the next move up. Okay, so if you're new here, I'm just using the same pattern to enter and exit all of my positions, being a head and shoulders or a Quasimodo or whatever you want to call it. So essentially I just look for a break of a low and then I look for the high that swept the low to be broken, and then once we retest I look for the same pattern again. Essentially this is just accumulation and the same pattern for distribution on the short side, so something like this. Alright, so even if we make lower lows on the time frame that we're trending, so for example we're trending on the H4, even if we make a lower low, so if we break below here, that doesn't necessarily mean that the trend is over. In my opinion, it means that we could just be visiting previous levels of accumulation, like this level right here. But it's when these previous levels of accumulation, it's when these levels start to break, that's when you should start to get worried. So if this level right here were to fall, to fail, so let's say we broke below, then that's the first sign that this higher time frame trend is breaking. However, that wouldn't still be enough evidence to say that the higher time frame trend is over. We would then need to see distribution. So lower lows and lower highs are fine in an uptrend as long as the previous levels of accumulation hold and as long as we continue to see reaccumulation at the previous levels of accumulation. So something like this. And I went over this in the previous episode, but so here's the previous level of accumulation. Here's equal lows, so we have liquidity residing below this level. Even if we do make that lower low here, as long as we see some reaccumulation, then that shows that the uptrend is still intact. Now, we could see the same thing here. We have all of these equal lows. We could see these equal lows break, but as long as the previous levels of accumulation hold, then the uptrend is still intact. Now, if we look at the rest of the leg, you'll see that there's no accumulation here. In fact, we actually have equal lows at the bottom. So if this level doesn't hold, and then we revisit the range that took us below this level. So let's say, and I will get into the actual positions I'm looking to take today in a sec. Just let me get through this. So let's say we travel down and we break below this low. I wouldn't automatically assume that we're going into a bear market unless we revisit this leg and then redistribute. So something like this. Okay, so just keeping that in mind, I think the best play for now is waiting for price to revisit previous areas of accumulation, look for the same pattern again on the lower time frames, look to get long. But for now, if we go on to anything other than anything lower than the hourly, you'll see that we are starting to distribute and that we should really look for shorts into these equal lows. All right, so now that we've retested this level and sold off, it's safe to assume that the leg that made the retest, so this leg right here, that was the retracement into this level of distribution. It's safe to say that if the market is going to continue its temporary downtrend, that this leg should hold. So once we revisit it, look for redistribution again. Okay, and short into the lows. Now let's say that this is a bottom and that these lows are going to act as support and that we're not even going to sweep them. We would need to see this level invalidated. Once this level is invalidated, if it is, then we wait for the retrace into this leg where we then look for reaccumulation. So a similar idea to yesterday, playing a short. If the short's invalidated, then we can look for longs and this uptrend can continue. But for now, I think shorts are favored. So I did get stopped on my ETH short, on my ETH long from yesterday, sorry. But we did sweep out these highs. As long as this low holds, then we shouldn't have too much to worry about. But if the low does break, so something like a break below here, if it's followed by a redistribution, something like this, then expect lower prices taking out all of these lows. So yeah, any lower time frame accumulation, so on the 1 to 5 minute around this zone, longing into this high. If this low breaks and it's followed by redistribution, then we can look to short. This is a worst case scenario. If we do see something like that, then I would expect a downtrend to continue for the rest of the week leading into the weekend. I cut the majority of my sand position. It's not worth holding the risk if I'm seeing that the majors are distributing. AVAX. So equal highs here, breaking below the low that's responsible for taking those highs right here. And then we come back up, we retrace, retest the trend line, and then form the same pattern again. So to me, this is distribution. Now, like I explained on Bitcoin, even if we are selling off here, it doesn't mean that the uptrend is over. It may just mean that we're retracing into a previous level of accumulation. So if we have previous levels of accumulation residing just below equal lows, so 1, 2 right there, this level, this can be a target for shorts, or it can be an area where you can look for longs if you're not comfortable shorting or you're just looking to build spot positions. Now, of course, planning for the worst. If my short bias is off, I'm in from 48.8, so I don't have too much to worry about. But let's say that this is the bottom and that this low is going to hold. You would need a bullish structure. So something like this. See how we've swept out those equal lows? This is the high that's responsible for taking those lows. So we would need to jump up, claim this level, and then reaccumulate once we retest this range. So if we see this, I'll probably look to get out of my shorts and maybe even jump into some longs. How long has this been going for? About 8 minutes. All right, I think that'll do. So I think temporary, we're going to see temporary downside. Probably safer in shorts at the moment unless we start to reclaim levels and then reaccumulate. So AVAX shorts, out of my sand longs, ETH shorts, Bitcoin shorts. No worries, guys. I think that's it for this episode. If you're interested in the way that I chart, or the way that I'm taking these positions, click the link in the description below, pick up a copy of the strategy. You get to see all of my live trades, my exact process, so you can follow along. No worries. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you tomorrow.